Hey, this is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. You're watching the Bring Your Worth show. Let me get you guys on board on Amazon Live. Shout out to everyone listening on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, or on the platforms. There we go. All right, what is going on? My name is Damon Brown, DamonBrown.net. You're watching the Bring Your Worth show. I'm here to help you. If I can talk today, I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. We're almost at 250 episodes of this show. You can catch it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. Thanks for your patience. Actually, I had a slight delay today because I had some last minute meetings and some other stuff going on. So I'm glad y'all are with me. Thanks for hanging in there. Again, you can subscribe for free over at youtube.com/Brown Damon. Coming to you again every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is episode, I think I calculated, this is episode number 248. And we got Friday, we got Monday. So next week, we are finally hitting 250 episodes. I talk about emotional intelligence. I talk about how to be creative and do cool stuff while still being true to yourself and keeping your bills paid and details like that. I have two little kids at home. They're 9 and 6. I'm the primary caregiver. I work with my wife. So there's so many dynamics that I deal with that I can I've learned over the years, and hopefully I can share some of that insight with you. And that's why I intend to do my new book, which you'll see in this corner. Always get it mixed up with the mirrors. It's Career Remix. Get the gig you want based on the skills you've got. If you're on Amazon, you can just hit the link below. Same thing if you're on the other platforms, and then you'll go right there. If you want signed copies, you can actually come through to my website as well. But Career Remix, get the gig you want based on the skills you've got. I currently have some stuff going on too where some of my earlier books, including some of the best-selling ones, I have the audiobooks, or at least excerpts of it, available at youtube.com/Brown Damon. So you can listen to them right now. If you just go below, I'm actually premiering them a few times in the show. I think I'm doing excerpts of the Bring Your Worth book, which I think I have here. Right now I'm doing excerpts of the Bring Your Worth book over at Bring Your Worth. So again, youtube.com/Brown Damon. You can hear some Bring Your Worth and check that out. And I'm going to be doing even earlier books. So I got some surprises coming around the corner. You definitely want to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Also, what's going on is I'm doing a lot of YouTube shorts. I talked about it very briefly during the live last week. I do a live like pretty much every Wednesday. And shorts enable you to watch some of my content from my different shows, or even some of the stuff that inspired some of the shows, which is even more fun. So the behind the scenes stuff, the original interviews from major platforms like the Oprah Winfrey Network and other places. I guess it'll be OWN, they call it now, and see excerpts from the interviews that actually inspired some of the episodes that you're seeing here, even some of the stuff that inspired some of my best-selling books. All this stuff is in 60 seconds or less. If you're young, or if you have some kids, even if you don't have kids and you're into TikTok, it's the same type of vibe. But on YouTube, same thing for Instagram Reels. Everything's 60 seconds or less, and it's been a ton of fun. I do keynotes. I've done 4 different TED Talks. I'm used to frankly, like taking up space and being like, I'm going to talk for 45 minutes. I'm going to talk for a half an hour. I'm going to talk for this, that, and the third. I'm going to talk for these 15 minutes. It's been really fun exercise to just be like, nope, I'm actually just going to talk just for this amount of time. whatever insights are there, it's going to be this tiny, and it's going to be less than 60 seconds. As you can tell by my smiling, it's been a lot of fun. A lot of new folks are coming through because of the shorts, because y'all are appreciating that content. So I've been encouraged to keep going. So thank you for all the love and support. If you want to go ahead and watch some of my shorts, I think I just hit 50 shorts. You can watch them right there. The big thing you want to do with shorts, you can watch them through the what they call the desktop. So if you're on a computer like I'm on right now, I'm talking to you through a computer. But the best way to watch shorts is on your phone. And what you do is you flip them up and down, and the short will repeat if you happen to miss something. It's a lot of fun. I'm middle-aged, you know what I mean? So for me, this is some new stuff, and I love being able to connect to different audiences. And it's been a lot of fun. All right, so I know I started the show a little bit late, so let's go and hop into it. The topic of today's live show: how to sleep better tonight. I have a newsletter that comes out for free at joindamon.me. It comes out every Wednesday at 5:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. And I talked about this briefly in the newsletter that y'all would have received this morning, where we just have the shift of the equinox, right? Which is the one of the 2 days, or there's 2 equinoxes. So it's like the one day twice a year where it's equally light and equally dark. And it's beautiful symbolism there. I love the idea of the scales of that. And something happens to me, like psychologically or even emotionally, when the equinox happens, where it's almost like this equinox, like the fall one that just happened, I believe it was on Friday, where it's like, okay, now it's time to rest a little bit. And that's been some of the energy of this year, which I've mentioned in previous lives. Because things were so busy over the last 5 years, I've done 8 books in the past 6 years. So it's been a really intense period of time. And again, I got little ones, so it's not like I'm doing it on my own. And so this shift feels even more profound this year because I was already not necessarily in a pattern of rest, but in the mindset of, okay, this is the direction I'm going. This is a period of time to sow what I planted. Hence me doing the show. It being routine, it being straightforward, me connecting with y'all, but I'm connecting with y'all based on the many books and content and the hundreds of coaching sessions, because I'm a business coach, all those things I've done over the years. Now it's time to share that on a higher level. Not necessarily to create more. So I haven't announced any new books or anything like that. I've already done 8 in the past 6 years. I'm good. But finding ways to get more of this to you. That, in a sense, is not necessarily rest, but it's a different type of energy, and that's what I'm saying. And yeah, maybe it is that routine, that what's the word I'm looking for? Ritual. That was the other word I was looking for. Ritual. There's something beautiful about that ritual. As in the Northern Hemisphere, which again I'm based in Las Vegas. And in the Northern Hemisphere, not normal, Northern Hemisphere, we're now shifting and things are going to start getting darker. We just had a major thunderstorm that my family and I woke up to this morning in Las Vegas. And you can already see that the weather is shifting, even though the equinox just hit. Today's Wednesday, it just hit on Friday. You can already see the temperature drop by 20 degrees. It's Mother Nature's like, nope, we're changing. Now it's the fall, buddy. Now it's the fall. With that in mind, we can turn to rest. And again, here in the traditional stuff in the States, it starts to get colder. So then you start to stay in a little bit more. There's less outdoor activities, stands for football, but there's less outdoor activities. And again, here in the States, within 6 weeks, it's going to be Thanksgiving, which celebrates the beginning of America and other types of details related to the beginning of America. It's a controversial topic, but let's just say that time is off here. As we recognize that, then it goes into a lot of the religious holidays, right? From Hanukkah to Kwanzaa to even in Hindi and other religions, you're having this rest. If you think about it, celebration is just rest, but you're doing it with a bunch of people, right? Because you're not working, you're celebrating, right? It's also time to honor and to reflect. I think as it gets darker, I'm taking a long way around the barn, but here's my point. As it gets darker, it's easier to get into this reflective mode and to check in with your body, your mind, your spirit, and say, wow, I'm pushing myself really hard. Let's reel it in a little bit and let's get more reflective of it. Sleep is a big part of it. As I mentioned in my newsletter this morning, my kids are 6 and 9. My wife has a busy career. I got a busy career, as I just talked about a few minutes ago. Sleep is a premium. Sleep and quiet time. And unfortunately, those 2 things, sleep and quiet time, at least for me, are essential. And so over the almost 10 years that I've been a father, it's like, how do you find that time? And how do you make that time? And for the time that you do have, how can you make the sleep better? And so today I just want to focus on a few tools that can actually make your sleep better, make your sleep deeper. I am not a sleep expert. You can see the bags under my eyes. So I am not, but as I learn, my excitement is passing things on to you. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So there's a TED Talk here. There's actual tools here, even some fun stuff that I'm going to go over. So let's get into it. It's only 3 items, but let's see what's happening. All right. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Love this book. Love this book. I think I put the link to the audiobook. Get the audiobook. It's fantastic. The audiobook is about 9 hours. And as I've said before in previous episodes, it's not conducive to sleep because it's such an addictive book. I think I might have listened to it in like 3 settings. Like, it's so good. It's so good. But he talks about the history of sleep. But more importantly, he talks about, because he's a sleep researcher, this is what he does. As much as I research startups, and back in the day, as much as I research journalism, this guy's the equivalent of that for sleep. So like, this is what he does. He's a sleep researcher. Why do we sleep? Why do we need to sleep? What happens in the body when you go to sleep? This is some scientific stuff. What I love about the book is not only the history, because I'm a history guy, but the history is pretty brief. I want to say the first third of the book focuses on the history. The remaining 2/3 or so, or maybe even remaining 3/4, it focuses on what's happening to our culture because we lack sleep, and we do have a sleep crisis because people aren't sleeping as much because, unironically, I'll show you, because of the phone, because of the blue lights that come from the technology, because we're reading on our digital reading devices in bed and going to sleep, because we have, you see the reflection in my glasses, we have unnatural light coming in instead of just depending on the light, because we're not shifting our schedule based on how the sun is rotating, right? Because sun didn't get up here till around 6:30 or so, especially with the storm. But we still got up at our normal time in our household because we're based on doing these schedules based on, schedules versus based on where nature is right now. That's what I think is so lovely about the equinoxes. It's like that check-in. It's like, all right, it's going to get colder. You're going to start feeling sleepier, and you're going to remember how tired you are. There's different things that we've sacrificed with our so-called modern culture. Going from, I think the word is egalitarian, from egalitarian to industrial to the technology age that we're in now. Like, what are we sacrificing along the way? Particularly, again, health-wise. He gets into that. He gets into how much sleep you actually need, depending on your age range, and gets into different studies that are based on science. That's what I think is great about it. There's other books that talk about the history of sleep. Sounds like a kind of book I would write, because I love, particularly back in the day, I would love writing about pop culture histories like that. But he's different because he's actually an expert. This is what he does. And hearing the expert opinion is great. He actually has a great TED Talk too, which I forgot to link in here, but I'll go ahead in the replay. I'll be sure and put the link in there. But it's excellent TED Talk. I actually was an audience when he did TED Talk. If I remember correctly, it was fantastic. He had us on the edge of our seats. A good companion to this, which is a previous episode. In fact, I think this episode of the BringYourWorth show ran maybe a month ago. Brene Brown on how to slow down without losing your business. I actually took a semi-break, for lack of a better term, from some of my regular businesses in the spring. My health was wearing down because I had allergies. It was the spring, so I had to get my allergies in check. My boys needed a lot of stuff because they had spring break. I went to the TED conference. I did my first in-person speaking engagement since the pandemic over in Benton Harbor. Shout out to Lake Michigan College. That's also linked in there too. If you go to the youtube.com/Brown Damon, you can listen to a replay of my keynote that I did back in late April. And so it was a good, solid series of weeks where I was not available. Like, I was traveling, I was taking care of my family, I was taking care of myself, I was resting, or I was, doing a speaking engagement or whatever. And there's certain things I set up in my business that I was still getting paid. So I was still taking care of it. So still helping take care of my family, still make sure the bills got paid, things of that nature. Part of that is passive income, of course, which I talk about a lot in this channel. But part of it too is creating systems where there was enough, a lot of my stuff is content. So there's enough content and other details happening where you could tell stuff had slowed down a little bit, but I hadn't gone away because I still have my presence. I talk about that, how I did it, break it down, and why it's so important to build in the systems. I talk about that a lot in Career Remix. Build in the systems so that you can step away from things. So you can't afford to be sick. So you can shift your priorities. So you can build side hustles while doing other things. Like there's a way to create almost like a scaffolding or a structure that will keep things intact without things going crazy. That's really important to do. If you don't have that, then you can't deal with the psychological part. And I talk about the psychological part as far as us having, hence the Brene Brown part, guilt and or shame for taking a break. We feel like we need to be busy all the time. That is such an American thing. And some of y'all are overseas. You're probably thinking I'm talking crazy. Some of y'all Americans are nodding your head. And the more that we travel, the more we get out, the more we realize, wow, we're wearing ourselves down to the bone. It doesn't make any sense. Even earlier today, I have a lot of stuff going on. And I squoze in, I think squoze is a word. I'm going to use it today. I squoze in a nap. And because it was a stressful day with the kids. And it was a stressful day with work. And it was like a million different things going on. And it took all my willpower to stop and be like, you know what, I'm going to stop. And I napped for like a half an hour, just a quick cat nap, half an hour, set the alarm. And I feel great. In fact, I don't think I'd be able to show up for y'all at all if I didn't stop. This video talks about that. As you can tell, it's an important video of mine, important to me. I want to make sure I got it out to you. It's like 20 minutes long. It's not super long, but I think you can get a lot out of it. So please, if you're feeling guilt and or shame because you are wearing yourself down and you feel like you can't stop, not that you can't afford to stop. I've been there too, but that you can't stop because you think that the world's going to stop spinning, please watch the video. I highly encourage you. In fact, if there's anything that you get from this, please watch this video. All right, let me get off my soapbox. All right, the next one I recommend, speaking of allergies, see, you tell the weather's changing again. The next one is actually pretty unusual. It is Lithograph blankets by Lithographs. I have the link right there. No affiliate or nothing. I just mess with them heavy, as they say nowadays. I would say some other stuff. I'm trying to keep this PG-13, but I mess with them heavy. I love these folks. This is actually one that I got from a gift. Thank you, Mom. And what it does, it's actually a blanket that uses the words to whatever book you're into. I think you can do custom ones now too. I can't remember. I'm sorry, I messed with my microphone. Give me a second. See, I'm knocking stuff over with the blanket, and hopefully you guys can hear me now. But so this book is actually, forgive me, I cannot remember the name of the author. I'm actually on Amazon. That's crazy. You can look up the author. And again, I can put it in the post notes too. But the book is called The Buddha Walked into a Bar. So obviously you see the Buddha, but then what he's actually made of and the background are the words from the book. You know, the Buddha walked into a bar. So if you look really closely, there's no way you can see it from the digital. But if you look closely at this, these are the actual words. And this blanket is my nap blanket. I'm going to go old school, like, like my youngest one in kindergarten. Like, this is my nap blanket. This is what I rock with. And I actually keep it in my office. You see me looking over here because I have a meditation mat, a really small one that I'll meditate for a few minutes every day. But I'll keep that in the corner along with this blanket. And so if it's days like today where things are just too much or it's crazy or I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, ironically, I know I was going to talk to you guys today. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, because there was a lot of stuff going on well into the evening. And then, this morning was a normal morning, like I said, and we had to keep the train going. And so days like this, and it's rainy outside in Las Vegas, we get like 10 rainy days a year, maybe 20, And so it's like, this is a perfect day to take advantage of this. I'd recommend creating that kind of habit. And it could be Not everybody can nap for that short period of time. I've been napping for decades at this point, so my body's used to it. I'm used to shutting down and being able to be available for y'all. Um, but even if it's just like the people that I know that I talk to about napping, even some of my coaching clients, they're like, "Well, I don't know how to nap." Well, you don't have to nap. You can just lay down. Just be quiet for a second. Put your phone to the side, grab a blanket. I nerd out on these blankets, number one, because they're super comfortable, because you got the softness on the inside. Mine is a little bit gray, so you thought had it for a while. I do wash it, just it's old, right? So it's gray over here. And then of course if you're into literature, excuse me, if you're into literature like I am, to be able to have like your books on there is fantastic. This is not my book. This is a book that I read several years ago that that was a wonderful, wonderful gift. So creating that routine, creating that energy, and you checking in and saying, I'm going to take 5 to meditate. I'm going to take 10 minutes to lay down for a second and just be still. Not be on your phone, just be still. In my case, I'm going to take a half an hour and I'm going to go to sleep. Again, some of our bodies don't work like that. Mine happens to work like that, not only because I think it's an innate thing. I think I'm drawn towards naps. I like sleeping, but also because of the routine and I'm used to the habit of it. Create some type of habit, and a blanket can be part of it, that allows you to go into that rest mode. So I think that's the thing that we need to address, is that it might not be realistic for you to get 8 hours of sleep every night. I have to try really hard to get 8 hours sleep every night. I know my wife does too. Like, it's just, you know, you get the kids to bed, and then the dishes still need to be done, and then to organize things downstairs so it's ready, and if it's school day. If it's not a school day, okay, but if it's school day next, you got to get their clothes together, and then you have to make sure that whatever lunch you're doing, it's unthawed or whatever, and then get it, and it's just, and those details, you have to wash clothes if they got them dirty, particularly on like a wet day like today. Like, those things add up. So I think it's important, personally, I think it's important to not feel, again, guilt, like you should be doing something, or shame because other people see me doing it, and you have a hard time doing it, that you're not getting like 8.5 hours of sleep a night, which I think is like the recommended thing. That might not be realistic. And again, we got 2 kids under 10. Like who gets 8.5 hours sleep every night? You know what I mean? Like, we get the gray hairs and all that for a reason. So it's important to understand where you're at compared to, say, some of my older relatives who are retired. They get 10 hours sleep. Good for them. But as they acknowledge, a lot of them are grandparents. So as they acknowledge, they know that we're in a different space. It's like, wow, you're going to be sleep deprived for a little while. So how can you stave off that sleep deprivation? One of the things is sleeping deeper, which, as I talked about with Matthew Walker's book, he talks about that. So you can sleep deeper for the amount that you're sleeping. He even breaks it down into, I think we sleep in 4-hour cycles, if I remember correctly. I read it like 2 years ago, so forgive me. But I think we sleep in 4-hour cycles. So, getting 4 hours sleep might actually be more powerful than getting 6, because you're not getting half a cycle. And if you get half a cycle, you end up being more tired. He gets into that. Do not take my word for it. I'm just trying to quote him here. But so there's hacks you can do, for lack of a better term, to sleep deeper. There's also the element of getting rest during the day. And, my wife and I are at the sweet spot where our kids are still young, so they still need us, and they want us to tuck them in, and all those little details that come. It's a beautiful time in that sense. And we're spending more time with them than we probably will for the rest of our lives. I try to keep that in mind when they drive me crazy. But then it's the other end of it where they're at school right now. And so for 6 hours a day, we actually have space. Even with us working remotely from home, we have space. In that space, you might be able to squeeze in a little bit of rest, or, we just got a new video game system. So maybe the kids are playing the video game system, and then I get that 10 minutes of quiet time in the other room. Little hacks and details like that. These blankets could be part of that. It might not be this blanket. I rock with these blankets big time, but it might be another thing. I also crochet, which I think I talked about in previous episodes. So it could be like a blanket that someone made for you or that you made. Some type of routine, doesn't have to be every day, but some type of routine during the day that might compensate a little bit for the rest that you're lacking at night. So again, if you're not able to improve your amount of sleep, maybe you can sleep deeper, and or you can actually find ways to rest during the day. If your kids are under 5, it's kind of tough because they're not in school, and those first 5 years are pretty brutal. So you're just going to be you're not going to have that break during the day unless you have family members or a nanny or other people that can take care of them during the day. We often didn't have that privilege, so we were juggling on 2, 3, 4 hours sleep most of the time. Now we're in this privileged space, but there's going to be a certain space where we can get a lot more sleep. But until then, you got a good 10, 12, 15 years. Same thing if you're taking care of older relatives or other dependents. So yeah, work with what you got. That's what I'm trying to say. I know I took a long way around the barn for that one. The last item I would recommend, which is an unusual one, is the Nest thermostat. Actually, I dug mine out of the garage because we have them in the we had the boxes in the garage. We got them in when we moved to Las Vegas about 3 years ago, and we moved into the place. We got them in probably about a month or two after we moved in. And I'm gonna be frank about it. Well, let me talk about it first. This is an automated thermostat. And so there's two big benefits to it. The first thing is that it will automatically adjust based on your habits and based on the weather outside. And so it didn't go as high last night because if you heard at the top of the show, the temperature dropped probably about 20 degrees this morning, and we had really heavy thunderstorms, lots of rain. The boys loved it, so they're playing in the rain this morning. But so it dropped. So our thermostats, and we have one upstairs, one downstairs, automatically adjusted, right? The second thing, though, which is killer, particularly if you live in like an extreme climate, like the middle of the desert, like we do in Las Vegas, is that you can actually use your phone to remotely control it. And so if we're going on a trip, like a road trip, or we're going to see one of the in-laws or my folks or whatever, what we'll do is we'll be able to use a phone and say, all right, turn up the inside temperature to 85 degrees, which is really warm, right? 85 degrees, but we're not at home. And it's like, cool. So then, well, opposite of cool is hot. And so it'll adjust to it. But more importantly, when we're coming back home, maybe like 2, 3 hours before we get home, they'll be like, all right, let's go ahead and turn on the air conditioning. And then we can turn it down to, say, 72, or we usually have it higher, but down to 72. So by the time we get here, it's not, a sauna. Because here in Las Vegas, I had some, my teenage years in Michigan, so sympathies to you because you're dealing with the other extreme. Here in Las Vegas, it can get to 117 degrees during the summer. I can say 117 because for the 3 summers we've been here, it's hit exactly 117, usually like June, July, just 117 for no reason. And it usually doesn't go to 120, but we'll see. But 117 is it. So you don't want to be coming after being traveling for a week. You don't want to come home to that. The reason why I suggest the Nest thermostat is that it goes back to what Matthew Walker talks about, also what a lot of other scientists talk about, as far as temperature being essential to how well you sleep. The last thing I read, I don't know if it was in Matthew Walker's book, again, the aforementioned Why We Sleep, or if it was from some other content. It's probably a combination of a few of them. I was reading that the ideal sleep temperatures are in the 60s. 68 comes to mind. And so we have a much easier time getting into that deep sleep. I want to say REM, but there's some other cycles too. But let's just say deep sleep. We have a harder time getting into the deep sleep if the temperature is too hot. Excuse me. While we're awake, our definition of too hot, our tolerance is a lot higher. Like right now in our house, it's probably about 74 degrees, which is fine. I might sweat a little because I have the blazer on. It's a thick blazer, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That's what we normally keep it at. When you go to sleep, though, those cooler temperatures actually allow you to engage into the deeper sleep more. I think it allows you to get in there quicker and to get in there more, if I remember correctly. Again, please check out Matthew's book for the details. And so that thermostat control is really important. Me being the local handyman, that is not my background, but we own a house. I'm the handyman of the house. I'm the one that actually installed the 2 nests, and they were fairly straightforward. I am really into tech, but I am a software guy. I did 2 startups, so I'm a software guy. I'm not a hardware guy, but I was able to install it. I think the one that we did downstairs, which was my first one, probably took about an hour, so it took a minute. And then the one upstairs probably took 15 minutes because I knew what to do. And it was really straightforward. You take out your old thermostat. You own your own house. Please don't do this in an apartment or your mom's place. Please do it in your own house. But you unscrew it, take it off the wall, and then there's I want to say like 3 wires, and they're all colored. And then it ties into these, and the slots are also colored, and you go from there. And it's absolutely worth the time. If you're in bed and you're trying to get cozy and it's too hot, or you get in bed and you forget and all that, or the opposite, again, shout out to my folks in the Midwest. It's going to start getting cold there. For some of y'all, it's already cold, right? And you need to turn up the temperature and all that. You can do it from your phone. It sounds basic for me to spend 5 minutes on it. I got to say, though, because I wasn't quite feeling it at first. And then a couple days into it, I was like, oh, I get it. Because that cold walk across the cold floor, which is what I grew up in. Again, growing up in Michigan, originally from the East Coast, but I had my teenage years in Michigan. I know that walk across the cold floor to turn up the heat. Or the opposite, where, you're sitting there and you're sweating. And during the summer here, there's been times where my family's gone to bed and it's been, 3 figures of degrees. I'm not exaggerating. Some of those summer nights are like 101. If you think about it, if it's 117 during the day, it doesn't cool off. So to be able to regulate your sleep, I think it's much easier to have those distinct temperatures. And again, because we have 2 floors, we're able to adjust things. So like when in-laws are visiting or whatever, we're able to adjust things based on who's sleeping where. So it's absolutely worth the time. I love the device. It's been great. There's a TED Talk with, I think his name is Tony Fadell, and he's actually the founder of Nest. Nest was acquired by Google, I want to say 6 years ago. And around that time, he did a TED Talk. I saw his TED Talk in person. It's online. I do not have the link to it, unfortunately, but it might be worth checking it out, too, if you want some inside baseball on what Tony ended up doing. All right, so let's start from the top. I recommend Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I recommend these beautiful blankets from Lithograph Blankets. Shout out to Lithograph. You can use the link below. And then lastly, I recommend the Nest Thermostat. I'm a tech guy, but I'm not a hardware guy. And even I was able to put it together fine. So shout out to them. I recommend it because, again, you want to have your sleep temperature, from all the research that I've read, in the upper 60s. And that's, even though it sounds cold, that's actually should be the ideal. Obviously, you want to have blankets on, the ideal temperature for you to get a deep sleep. So maybe if you're not getting much sleep, maybe just turn the temperature down a little bit more and then get as deep as possible with that sleep that you're getting. All right, speaking of sleep, I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. It is lunchtime for me, and I am getting sleepy. So thanks for coming through to chat about getting good sleep. It's a BringYourWorth show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. My new book is Career Remix, Get the Gig You Want based on skills you've got. And you can always subscribe for free to the BringYourWorth show at youtube.com/BrownDamon. And I got a ton of shorts coming up. It's so much fun. So some of the, again, the TikTok style 60-minute shorts. So even if you don't have a lot of time, speaking of not having time, be sure and check out the shorts. And then some of them are actually clips of the longer episodes of the show. So you might get some good enjoyment out of that. Until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth and you can always build from now. Take care.